So, we've all heard of the superbug MRSA, right? It's one of the most notorious pathogens we face. But its real power isn't just about resisting antibiotics. No, it's about its brilliant and honestly kind of terrifying ability to build itself a fortress, a nearly impenetrable fortress made of slime. Let's get into it. All right, so here's what we're going to break down. First, we'll look at how this superbug is always one step ahead. Then, we'll get into the main event, its incredible slime fortress. We'll see where these nasty infections hide, what our current battle plan looks like, and finally, check out the seriously futuristic weapons we're dreaming up to tear its defenses down for good. Okay, first things first, let's set the stage. MRSA, or methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, is way more than just some bug you catch in a hospital. This thing is a true master of evolution and a really formidable enemy in public health. I mean, our fight with this bug started way back in the 1960s, and since then, it hasn't just been sitting around. It's exploded into a global threat. And along the way, it's developed a whole arsenal of tricks to dodge our best drugs and our own immune systems. But there is one strategy that stands head and shoulders above all the rest. Now, get ready for this number, 1,000 times. You heard that right. Bacteria protected by this secret weapon are up to 1,000 times more resistant to antibiotics than the ones just floating around on their own. This is the absolute key to understanding MRSA's terrifying success. So let's get right to the heart of it. How in the world does MRSA get this incredible level of protection? Well, it builds something called a biofilm, what we're calling its slime fortress. And a biofilm isn't just a random pile of bacteria. No. You gotta think of it more like a highly organized, self-constructing city. The bacteria build it themselves using this goo made of sugars, proteins, and even their own DNA to create a sticky protective matrix. And it's not just a physical shield. This slime is also a chemical barrier that can neutralize our antibiotics and basically make the bacteria invisible to our immune system. And the way they build it is a total masterclass in microbial engineering. It happens in 3 basic steps. First, a few pioneer bacteria land and anchor themselves to a surface. That could be anything from a medical implant to your own living tissue. Then, phase 2, maturation. They start multiplying and pumping out that slimy matrix, building the walls of their fortress, layer by layer. And finally, dispersal. Chunks of the fortress deliberately break off, sending out waves of colonists to go start new strongholds somewhere else in the body. And that's how the devastating cycle starts all over again. This really shows you just how effective that fortress is. A single, free-floating bacterium, it's vulnerable, it's exposed, and it's pretty easy for our antibiotics to take out. But once it's inside that biofilm, everything changes. It's shielded. It can slow its metabolism way down, entering this dormant, almost zombie-like state. It can just hang out like that for weeks, months, even years, just waiting for the coast to clear so it can wake up and restart the infection. So why is all this so important? Because these fortresses are being built inside people every single day, and they're causing some of the most stubborn, persistent, and difficult to treat infections we know of. And they tend to pop up on surfaces we rely on in modern medicine. Medical devices are like prime real estate for biofilms, because they're a perfect foreign surface for bacteria to latch onto without an immediate fight from the immune system. We're talking catheters, artificial joints, heart valves, even something as simple as a contact lens. Biofilms are also a huge reason why chronic wounds and surgical infections can be so incredibly hard to heal. The result of all this is a whole spectrum of diseases. MRSA biofilms are the reason for those annoying, recurring skin infections that just keep coming back. But they're also behind really deep, life-threatening conditions. We're talking endocarditis, an infection that can literally destroy your heart valves, and osteomyelitis, this notoriously painful and destructive bone infection that can, in the worst cases, lead to amputation. So here's the key takeaway. If you ever hear about an infection that just will not go away, no matter how many rounds of antibiotics someone takes, there is a very, very good chance a biofilm is the real bad guy. The bacteria are just hiding out in their fortress, weathering the storm of our drugs, and then popping back out when it's safe. It's a completely frustrating and often devastating cycle. Okay, so given this incredible defense system, how do we even begin to fight back? Well, it turns out our current battle plan has to be just as aggressive as the infection itself. The standard approach is basically a brutal, multi-front assault. It often starts with really long, grueling courses of high-dose antibiotics, which can have some pretty serious side effects.
If that doesn't work, surgeons have to physically go in and scrape away the infected gunk. That's called debridement. And if the biofilm is on a medical device like an artificial hip, well, a lot of the time, the only option is to take the whole thing out, which means more surgery, more risk, and a much tougher recovery.
Now our pharmaceutical arsenal has some heavy hitters, like vancomycin and daptomycin, which go after the bacterial cell wall. But look at rifampin here. It's a really interesting one because it's often used with other drugs, specifically for its ability to get past the fortress walls and penetrate the biofilm. Using drugs in combination is absolutely crucial. When you attack the bacteria from multiple angles at once, it's way harder for them to develop resistance. But here's the tough reality. These treatments are really hard on patients. They're invasive, they mean long hospital stays. And you know what? Even with all that, they can still fail against a fully mature, dug-in biofilm. We needed a better way. And the good news is, we're starting to find one. And that brings us to the future of this fight, which is, frankly, something straight out of science fiction. Scientists are developing a whole new class of weapons. And these aren't just designed to kill the bacteria. They're designed to strategically dismantle their fortresses. I mean, just look at this list. We're talking about bacteriophages. These are viruses that are natural-born bacteria hunters. They kill MRSA but leave our own cells alone. We're engineering nanoparticles that act like tiny Trojan horses, sneaking through the slime to deliver a drug payload right where it's needed most. There are enzymes that work like chemical scissors, literally dissolving the matrix holding the fortress together. We're even experimenting with laser shock waves to physically blast the biofilm apart. This is a massive shift in strategy. The new goal isn't just brute force anymore. It's more like surgical deconstruction. The idea is if we can take down the fortress walls, we can expose all those bacteria hiding inside. And once they're exposed, they become vulnerable again, both to our immune system and to the good old antibiotics we already have. It's a race against time, though, because we know the bacteria will eventually adapt. And that's really what it all comes down to. This is a constant, high-stakes evolutionary arms race. MRSA built an incredible defense with its fortress of slime, but human ingenuity is now fighting back with some equally incredible weapons. The big question is, can we innovate fast enough to stay one step ahead?